meeting of the South San Antonio Independent School District Board of Trustees will come to order. Today is April 20th, 2016, and the time is 6:30 p.m. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is recognitions.
Point of order. Point of order. Roll call.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mata. I apologize. Yvette, roll call, please.
Mrs. Connie Prado?
Present.
Mrs. Stacy Estrada? Present. Mrs. Angelina Osteen?
Here.
Mr. Trinidad Mata?
Present.
Mr. Carlos Longoria?
Present.
Mrs. Leticia Guerra?
Here.
Ms. Helen Mack? Present.
Thank you, Yvette. Dr. Saavedra, recognitions.
Ms. Barlow, members of the board, we do have quite a few recognitions today. Frankly, our board was not large enough to accommodate all our visitors. So at this time, I want to ask the board to step downstairs to the auditorium. All the students and their sponsors and parents that are going to be recognized are down there right now. So we'll do that part of the agenda down there, and then we'll come right back up and we complete that. Okay?
Okay, thank you. That concludes our portion of the recognitions. Now moving on to citizens to be heard. We have several members signed up to be heard. Just a reminder, it's a 3-minute. Citizens to be heard. Mr. Longoria will raise up a card that says 1 minute, and you have 1 minute left to speak. Our first person signed up to speak is Samantha Magaña.
Hi, good evening. My name is Samantha Magana, and I am a member of the Dancing Cats. This year has been very stressful for all of us, and our director has gotten us through this year. You know, she made mistakes this year, and we all do. We are human, and I just came here on her behalf because I think our director deserves to be with us next year because she has carried us on throughout this whole year, and I strongly urge you to reconsider, letting go of her because she has been there for us this whole year, and she has stood by us, and she has supported us throughout this whole year where, we had to fight the school, we had to fight the school board to just be able to go to competition this year. And she strongly believes what we do is helping us, and she has helped us throughout the year. And she is our second mom. She is everything to us, and I just want to make sure that she isn't being let go for the wrong reasons, and that she does have a chance to be heard. And I don't know how else to explain it. She just is our rock, and she does support everything that we do. And I just wanted to come and talk on her behalf because she has led me to do many great things throughout this whole year, and I just wanted to speak up about that because, the past 3 years that I've been on this dance team, I've already she would be my 3rd director that I've gone through. And, as growing up and as being a part, going through high school and having that many director changes, it's hard, it really is, because they're there to support us. And every time we have to change a director, it's hard on the team, not only myself, but the rest of the team. And, she has stuck with us through the hardest part of everything, and she's fought for us. And so I'm here, and I'm fighting for her, and I want her to stay, because she has done nothing but great things for us. We have come home, and we are national champions again this year. We have done so many great things this year, and I feel like y'all are punishing her, and I just don't want that to happen, because she does matter to me. She matters to all the team, all the girls that are here today. So I just wanted to be heard. Thank you.
Next, we have Risa Avila.
Good evening, my name is Risa Avila. I'm a senior and I've been on this team for 4 years. I'm speaking here on the release of Ms. Cortinas. I am the Dancing Cat Colonel, and to start off, I know leading a team is not easy. It is a challenge and a big responsibility. This organization has brought a lot of tears and joy. It gave me a group of sisters and brother who I can always go to when I need a hand. It gave me discipline and a lot of responsibility that I didn't know I could handle. It made me see the world differently, realizing who was there for me and who was not. And last but not least, it gave me a director that never gave up on us, a director that was always there for us, and a director that was always proud of us. And because of that, we pushed and pushed every practice just to make her proud, and guess what? We won our national title. Let me tell you one thing, it wasn't easy. Having to wake up at 5, 6 in the morning every day, or not going home after school to our families because we have practice, and even sacrificing our social life because our time is so dedicated to dance. I am here to explain that Ms. Cortinas fought for us because she saw our worth. She sees that we have worked hard and we deserve more recognition. We pay the thousands of dollars every year just to sit here and not get recognized. As a team, yeah, we had some bumps on the road, but we're human, and despite that this year is her first year as a full-time director, she has done an amazing job. How do you think we got to Disney, or got our national title? You can't think about what's good for y'all or the school. You have to think about the girls and the boys on the team too. We see each other every day and grow close together. We are a family, and you can't take that person that kept us all together. You cannot compare this dance organization with any other. Their season ends in like 3 to 4 months. Our season never ends. We start from the summer, practice 5 to 6 days a week, and guess who's by our side the whole time? Ms. Cortinas.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, we have Audrey Arredondo.
Good evening, my name is Audrey Redondo. I'm a third-year veteran on the dance team. As a dancing cat, you have worked so hard this year to bring South San Antonio High School a national award-winning dance team. In previous years, the dance team would never place in competitions. However, this year, the dancing cats placed first in all routines, received many judges' awards, such as Outstanding Presentation, Outstanding Performance, Outstanding Entertainment, and Outstanding Showmanship. We also received Most Superior at National Competition at Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Ms. Cortinas was the one person who pushed us to greatness and encouraged us to never give up on ourselves. Her love for our team and organization is overpowering. She knows how to motivate this team when we feel discouraged or just need a pep talk to help us get through the day. I know I can always count on Ms. Cortinas to listen to my personal problems as well as make me a stronger dancer. She was responsible for making this team the best dance team Southtown has ever had. Without her, our team would have not had such a successful year and a loving bond. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey. Next, we have Angel Villanueva.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Angel Villanueva, and I'm a member of the Dancing Cats. I'm a first-year veteran this year, and I just wanted to say a few things about Ms. Cortinas. Well, I remember, first of all, when I was in Pep Squad a little over a year ago, or maybe a year ago, and I walked in there not knowing anything about dance, not knowing how to leap, and I'm sure it was very challenging to teach me, being the only boy, and not knowing what to do, but she stuck by my side and she pushed me a lot, and I wouldn't have grown to become like the dancer I am today. And I just feel like I owe most of it to Miss Cortinas, because she was always like, yeah, you can do it, Angel. She was always pushing me. She was a coach, and I just feel like she's not getting the recognition she deserves, and I'm pretty sure. Sorry. She's become like a huge mother figure for me. Considering I never do get to go home because I'm practicing almost all the time, like the other team members, and it's hard to understand and to explain the bond that I have towards her. She's always been there for me, and even before I started dance team, I always felt like I could go to her. She's always been such a big motivational person in my life, and I just really want you to reconsider the decision that y'all are making, because she's not only a huge part of my life and the dance team's life, but also the cheer team, and also pep squad, and I feel like it'd be a huge loss if you guys were to do away with her position. So, thank you.
Thank you, Angel. Next, we have Nancy Torres.
I'm a little sick, so I'm sorry if you can't understand me. But good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Torres. I am a senior, and it is my third year on the team. I am a proud member of the Dancing Cats, and I would like to speak on behalf of the release of Miss Cortinas. As someone who lost their mother to cancer the freshman year, and had to live in a household with 2 older brothers and a dad, I felt like I would never be understood as a teenage girl. But luckily, I found comfort in a beautiful team of athletes, and with the help of an amazing coach, we spend a lot of time together, probably more time with each other than we do with our own families. And you get attached. Miss Cortina spends more time with us than she does with her own family, and I know she sees us as her daughters. We look to her as a mother figure as well. She's always there for us and always has the best advice. Because of her, I know I will be leaving high school set and ready for the real world. She is our rock. She is what keeps the team together when we want to fall apart. She's not afraid to whip us into shape when we need to be. And most of all, she always teaches us that things aren't handed out to us for free, that we have to fight for what we want, and we can't take no as an answer. And that's what she made us do. She made us fight and work hard for all that we wanted, and we came out as national champions, and I'm so proud of us. And I'm so proud of her for it being her first year. She has taught us so much, and she has done so much for us, and I just can't explain like how much it means to us. We're always often taught that it's okay to be told no, but I just want to say that because of her, I've learned to fight for what I want. And I know she is my second mother. Please don't take her away too. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. Next, we have Diana Filipino.
Good evening. First and foremost, thank you for everything that you've done for us. But as a dancing cat going on my 4th year with this organization, this will also be my 4th year. This will also be my 4th directorship with Tina's Let Go. I would like to recognize that with her, we have made Dancing Cat and Pet Squad history. We now proudly have a banner that says National Champions hanging in our dance hall and multiple plaques with judges noticing our outstanding technique, presentation, sportsmanship, choreography, etc. None of this could have been done without the amazing person of my character. Like the other girls said, she becomes a second mother figure. Yes, we chose to take this on, but she really does. This become your second family. You see them more. You see your sisters, your brothers, your parents, your friends. It takes a toll, but when you have a director as good as she is, you forget sometimes that it's not just a team, it's a family. And for the past 3 years, we've had directors go, they weren't happy, understood that, and now we finally have a director that wants to stay with us, and that has led us to be one of the best teams that we've ever had. And all I can ask is that you take into consideration that please don't be away, please.
Thank you, Diana. Next, we have Josie Garcia.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Josie Garcia, and I am one of the Dancing Cat parents. I feel
14 as well for going on 4 years. My daughter will be a senior next year. So I'm here to speak on behalf of Ms. Martinez. I just want to reinforce again that y'all please rethink the decision that y'all made at this point to remove Ms. Martinez. We were recently informed that her contract would not be renewed and she was to detach herself from our team immediately. That really saddens us that we hear this because Ms. Martinez has devoted herself throughout this year. As the girls have all mentioned, the same repetitive thing that, you know, they've gone through a lot in regards to going through 3 directors, and Ms. Martinez was one of the most strongest ones that stood by their side and helped them through everything. She got them to where they're at now. She's always supported them. She spends a lot of time with them, and not only with our girls, with our team, but with us parents. She's really allowed us to get in and be involved with the team. In prior years, as I mentioned, the prior 3 years, the other directors never reached out to us parents. We parents always try to be there and support the team in many ways, and that was not permitted or allowed. This is the first year that Ms. Martinez has allowed us to be part of the team, and we have all gone very close together. So it really saddens us to hear the decision that has been made on that. Secondly, I'd like to mention, you know, that our girls, as they all mentioned, went to regionals and we went to nationals. When we went to regionals on March 5th, our girls won for the best of the best. And basically what that means is they recognize the top 10 schools, dance teams, and our girls placed 7th. And that's a big deal because they went up against about 35 schools. The district should be very proud of that. Within that, our team was also recognized 2nd place out of the 35 schools for the best GPA, their academics. That is also very good. Their nationals, they brought home, again, the title 7th place out of 30 schools. There's a lot of unfinished business for our team. As we all mentioned, it is all year round. It's not just during football season. Our girls support all of the athletics teams in regards to different things. And right now we have officer camps. You know, we have dance camps coming up. We have our spring show that's coming up as well that we've been told that's possibly canceled. We have payments that are due on Monday. We don't know who to pay. And is that money going to get posted correctly? Are our girls' uniforms, are they ordered? Are they going to start the year off again like our seniors did last year with no uniforms? We have to borrow uniforms throughout the year from schools. That's an embarrassment for us. When we parents are out there and our team are fundraising a lot to try to make sure that our team does not lack anything. We've come up here and asked for money for the Florida trip. Again, we paid the majority of our trip before we even came up here. You know, this is the type of recognition that Ms. Martinez should be given for the hard work. In 1 year, that director has pulled through and pulled us through a lot and kept us together as a strong friends. And we all make mistakes, but I'm sure there's a different way to recommend her in regards to whatever the situation is. It just really bothers me and the team that she would be removed in 1 year of experience. Look at everything she's done for the team. So I please ask that y'all please reconsider that resignation the first, or termination. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. As next we have Claudia Villa.
If you have other people to speak on that, I'll wait till the end.
I think that concludes the cheerleading.
Hi, good evening. I come to the board as a community leader, a taxpayer, but most importantly, as a parent in this district. I have been fighting for my district for 3 years now, for my school, Armstrong, to get a better education, to get better curriculums in there, to get school supplies for our kids. I have been coming to the principal, following the chain of command, coming to the directors of curriculum, coming to the superintendent, and I'm coming to the board. I'm so saddened to say that I'm going to have to leave this district and put my child in another district that is offering her more opportunities, because my leader in my district cannot offer her that. And it saddens me to say that it's not only my child, but many children have already left the district. Just in her kinder class alone, at least 7 children have left. And that is money that's being taken away from our district, but we're giving it to a district that really wants them and wants to give them a better education. It has been going on since day one that my daughter started pre-K, pushing for a better curriculum. He talks about being a leader, and our superintendent, to be a leader, it takes a lot than just to sit in a chair. You have to come out and visit those campuses. You have to come out and hear the parents. You have to come out and visit the schools, see what they need. We're not always going to come to you. We're not always going to be knocking on your door. We get frustrated. I get frustrated. I came knocking on his door, and his response to me was like, well, Ms. Villa, you could be really rude and pushy. Really? That's my right to come and ask you, to come and demand better for my child. And for you to push me away like that, it's unacceptable. The other thing is, Samantha spoke about punishing their coach. That's the same thing that's happening to me, because I decided to take myself out of the situation from Shepherd, where I was not going to be another sub that was going to be handcuffed and escorted off the campus. I decided to remove myself. Well, now I'm being punished by the principal there, not allowing me to go back, which is fine. It's her choice. But that is another form of retaliation. That is why people do not come forward. That is why people do not say anything. The teachers are being abused at Shepherd, and they are afraid to come forward because of the retaliation.
Thank you, Ms. Villa. Next, we have Tom Cummings.
Ms. Prado, members of the board, Dr. Zavedra. My name is Tom Cummings, and I'm representing the South San AFT. Before I begin with what I was going to say, I would like to praise the students. As a teacher, I get great pride in seeing what they said and the passion that they had in their voice. Congratulations on being here today. The teacher emotion comes out. Sorry about that. They're also difficult to follow because I got a piece of paper and they're all up here with phones. I figured that one out. But again, thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking out. Under item 1, under discussion, possible action, deals with campus discipline within district schools. Campus discipline and student behavior and concerns at AFT has had numerous complaints about this year, and we're in the process of collecting and assessing those concerns to formulate possible proposals for our May consultation committee. However, since student behavior is on the agenda tonight, we would like to make some preliminary remarks. Is there a much larger problem with student behavior this year as compared to previous years? And by what we've received from our members, a lot of our members, absolutely. Many have said on their particular campus that they feel it's out of control. This year, PBIS, or Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, was introduced on some campuses. We're in the process of talking to and surveying teachers regarding PBIS. So far, in the question of rating the effectiveness of PBIS, 54% of the teachers say it's a poor or very poor program. Only 26% say it's excellent or good, and 28% give it a mixed review. I'd like to make a caution with that in that these are very preliminary and we haven't really finished the numbers to change. We also asked if the program was being implemented successfully on the campuses. Only 32% said yes and 68% said no. The main complaint we've received is that PBIS rewards the poorly behaving students and ignores the students with good behavior. As one teacher put it, and I quote, "Unfortunately, more of the misbehaving students receive rewards to encourage better behavior, while the students that behave all the time rarely get anything. It is a skewed reward system on our campus." That comment, unquote, that comment is typical of numerous comments that we received by teachers. Another problem that surfaced.
Mr. Cummings, I'm sorry, sir, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you. We'll send a copy of the complete remarks to you.
Thank you, Council. Our last speaker is Alice Gallardo.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here in behalf of my daughter, Darlene Rivera. She's a senior and she wasn't able to attend the meeting because she suffers from depression and ADHD. And she went home crying the day that Mrs. Cortez was terminated, and she couldn't handle it. So I had to take her to the doctor because she says that Ms. Cortez is like her second mom, and she's helped her in every way that she can. She comes home, sometimes she goes to school depressed, and she'll talk to Ms. Cortinas, and Ms. Cortinas make her feel better. And she loves Ms. Cortinas, and she was very, very upset when she heard that Ms. Cortinas had been terminated. And like I said, I would like for Ms. Cortinas to come back because she is a good director. She's helped these girls through everything. You know, I didn't know her that well, but when we speak to each other, she always has respect for me and my little girl too, my Darlene. You know, I don't know if y'all were at some of the basketball games, but my daughter sang the national anthem. They asked her to sing it 3 times. Okay, so you know, I'm just asking that if you could please bring Ms. Cortinas back because it really hurts my daughter, and it hurts me to see my daughter hurt like that. Like I said, she suffers from depression, ADHD, and she's getting ready to graduate and everything. She comes back to school, you know, she went to the prom, had a good time, and then she comes back, you know, Monday, and then she hears this bad news, and it hurts me because my daughter's hurt, and she cries, and you know, I can only do so much. You know, I can't bring Ms. Cortinas back. It's up to you all, and I just beg you that you please bring her back because she needs her there, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Gallardo. That concludes our citizens to be heard portion. Next, we will have the superintendent's remarks. Dr. Saavedra.
Thank you, Ms. Bravo, and members of the board. I want to talk about a few things that are on a positive note. First of all, I'd like to congratulate the numerous students that were recognized earlier this evening, and congratulate and thank their sponsors as well for support of these young people. This morning, I believe I sent out to the board some preliminary test results, and they became public this morning. And the board has been informed of this, but I'd like to share some of this information with our public. These are strictly preliminary scores, and it involves only 5th and 8th grade math and reading. But overall, the district did fairly well. In 5th grade reading, for example, the district went up 2 percentage points. In 5th grade math, the district went up 4 percentage points. And in 8th grade reading, the district went up 8 percentage points. And then in 8th grade math, we dropped 1 percentage point. But what I really would like to do is recognize a few schools that did it really extraordinarily well. In 5th grade reading, this is the first administration. 2 schools really did very, very well. They improved in the double digits. The first school I'd like to recognize is Price Elementary, where they increased their scores in reading, 5th grade reading, from 68% passing to 81% passing, a 13 percentage point increase. I also want to recognize another elementary school that also had double-digit increases, and that's Hutchins Elementary, increasing their 5th grade reading from 67% passing to 78% passing, and that's 11 percentage points increase. 5th grade math, I like to recognize the same 2 schools. Not only did they do well in reading, they did extremely well in math also. Price Elementary, they increased their fifth grade math scores by 21 percentage points, going up from 74% passing to 95% passing. And Hudson's as well did extremely well in math. They had been at 57% passing. They went up 16 percentage points and brought it up to 73%. So I'd like to congratulate those. So now we go to 8th grade in middle school. And in 8th grade reading, we have two middle schools that increase in the double digits. The first school with the biggest percentage increase was Dwight Middle School. They went up 16 percentage points in 8th grade reading. They went up from 56% to 72% in reading. The other middle school I want to congratulate that had double-digit increases was Casey Middle School, going up from 61% passing to 71% passing, 10 percentage points. And in 8th grade math, once again, I want to congratulate Dwight Middle School. They went up. They're the only middle school that went up in the double digits in math. They went up from 56% passing to 70%, which is 14 percentage points increase. So again, these are strictly preliminary scores. We still have quite a few other scores that will need to come in. We won't really get any information concerning accountability ratings till most likely either late May, early June, and officially we'll get that in August. But I want to share that with the board and in our community because our schools did well. Congratulations to our principals, our teachers, and everyone else. And the final thing I want to congratulate our employees, all employees, not just teachers, not just principals, but all employees, is how well they supported United Way this year. There are 16 school districts in Bexar County, and our employees ranked 3rd out of the 16 in percent participation in the United Way program, with 65% of our employees participating, giving some amount to United Way to support others that are less fortunate. And then they were second out of the 16 districts in Bexar County in per capita giving, in the amount of donations that they made per individual. The increase for our employees in supporting United Way this year was a 9.5% increase from one year to the next. So our employees not only are great educators, but they're generous and they support those individuals that are less fortunate than they might be. So I want to thank our employees for that. Carlos, that completes my remark for this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Saavedra. Next item are presentations and reports. Number 1, in an effort to improve the educational experiences of children in South San Antonio ISD, Texas A&M University College Station engaged in a district-wide analysis of organizational inclusiveness and its link to student success. Dr. Saavedra.
Mr. Brown, members of the board, I'm going to call on Chief of Staff Michael Barama to introduce some guests that we have here from both Texas A&M University as well as the Kellogg Foundation. They're going to talk a little bit about a partnership that we've had with them for over a year now, and helping us to improve our services to our community. Michael?
Mr. Prado, members of the board, Dr. Castleberry, I'd like to introduce Dr. Gene Madsen and Dr. Mario Torres. They're from Texas A&M College Station, and they've been helping our district pretty much 2 years now, and some information to share. Dr. Madsen, of course.
Before we start, we brought our research team with us, and they've been a part of the process of visiting schools and districts as sports. So I would like to acknowledge Elizabeth Labuenos. I would also like to recognize Frank Gemrich, who is working with the Kellogg Project in the support. And I would also like to add we appreciate the support that we've gotten from South San in regards regard to this project. So I wanted to say that before we start off on the information on this school project. I would like to start first with the school model. And as with anything, before you develop a model, you want to make sure it's been really well vetted and examined. So we started off with an idea, and so what we wanted to do was look at a model that we could use to measure school environments that we feel can support student learning. Because if you have a very positive school environment, ultimately everything and everybody benefits. So we based it on what we see out there in terms of organizational justice. And that is looking at how we enact laws, interpret and look at rules and regulations, issues of fairness. Another part of this is looking at the important role the leader plays in overseeing how rules and how people interpret issues of fairness. But putting those two together ultimately means it comes and impresses and improves organizational outcomes. So that's sort of the model that we are operating under. As also a part of that, we also came and asked the South San Antonio District if they would be interested in participating in this and partner with this. So when we came to them, we said it's going to be a study that's based on the school inclusion model. And so we're going to examine issues of fairness and equity. Are we in fact using correct measures to look at school performance, and what is the role of our leaders? So we ended up putting that all together, and we used what we would call both qualitative and quantitative. So we developed the survey, and that comes under the quantitative portion. And in that particular piece, it was an item with 86 items, and it was asked questions in regard to our school inclusion model. And we used the Roche model, and that's just a data analysis process to ensure that your questions are valuable, and that in fact it's a reliable method in examining that. So that was sort of the piece. In order to validate the quantitative, we've been off interviewing people in the schools, we've been talking to teachers and parents, and we found that there's very much a relationship between what we saw in the survey and what we found out in terms of the qualitative methods. And so here's sort of a sample of some of the survey questions that we asked, and again, based on three areas, which is organizational justice, organizational outcomes, and leadership. So by assessing all of this information, we can get an idea, this is again early preliminary results, about what is occurring in schools and how do we create this very important supportive environment for kids. And so then let's take a look at sort of the early results. This is the relationship between how teachers and how leaders examined the survey. And to the left, I guess it would be stage right and stage left. Anyway, in the examination, we looked at the leadership piece. And you can see from the top, that is the responses that we received from the school administrators, and at the bottoms were how the teachers. So what we want to do in this particular project is to make sure that the closer those two, teachers and administrators, come together, that we would ensure that we have an environment that supports students' learning. So on the one side, you'll see where there's a great discrepancy, and that is in the area of leader. How the leaders see their role in creating a supportive environment, and how teachers see their roles, but also as teachers, what are they doing to create this environment? As you move over to the middle, you'll see where that's looking at outcomes. And again, as we noted earlier, that when you have a positive environment, ultimately it helps to improve school outcomes. So you can see those are not quite right at the top of your school administrators, and the teachers are a little bit closer, but that would be a piece in terms of looking at what they do in that school, what does it relate in terms of outcomes. Towards the end, where there was closer range, this piece looked at rules and regulations, so that both the teachers and the administrators felt they had done a pretty good job in being fair in how they interpret and work with rules and regulations in regard to special ed areas, in area of discipline, and those kinds of portions. So that's early preliminary. We plan to continue this project further with the next piece, looking at sort of what are your needs based on what your district is trying to do, and what did we find out with the school, what we found from the school inclusion survey. So our idea is not to come in and just say, okay, do only our work, Our belief system is it should be enhanced and enrolled and involved in what you all are doing. So you can see where you have your goals and the things that we've added. So this is again just kind of just a snapshot. But you can see there's on the two first ones, we're looking at also parents. Parent engagement really is critical in terms of creating this environment, working with teachers, supporting their students and their children. The other part of this is what are we doing to mentor teachers? And another part of that is looking at how do we support teachers in terms of professional development. And then the last part is what are we doing in terms of leaders? So kind of a giving you a quick brief overview. But again, the idea is that we're early preliminary, we'll be back and working with the schools here. And so to try to put up a joint document that will move further in terms of trying to enact and put interventions in place.
Just want to add a little to that. Thank you, Dr. Madsen. This old way of doing things, universities collaborating with schools, is changing. It used to be where university professors would waltz in, collect data, publish their papers, and nothing would happen. But that's changing. There is now more of an emphasis on embeddedness, where researchers come in and work hand in hand with the community. So it is our goal under the vision, through the vision of Kellogg, to come in and work at a grassroots level with not only teachers and leaders, parents, but also the community. And we really want to reach out and find ways where we can help you. That has been kind of the common thread throughout our conversations that we've had today with administrators at the elementary, middle level, that we are here to help. And we want to create more parental engagement. And sometimes it's just a matter of not having the vocabulary to do it, not knowing how the system works. But we want to provide those tools to parents so that parents can get more involved in the school system. This is going to be a highly interactive process. Perhaps I can talk a little about where we're going with this. Perhaps we can look at inclusiveness, because it's more of a broader construct than just falling under special education, but we can also look at inclusiveness at the board level, central office level. And so those are areas where I think we can work on to create a system that serves the best needs of the children in South San Antonio ISD. Any questions or comments for us?
Board members, are there any questions? No? No? Well, thank you, and we welcome you to our district. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have a report by Garza Baumberger and Associates on the completion of the high school auditorium renovation project. The newly renovated auditorium will provide a safe learning environment for students and an appropriate facility for extracurricular activities. Dr. Serreta.
Mr. President, members of the board, I'm going to call on Mr. Davis with Carson Baumberger and walk you through the presentation of the auditorium. We just, in the last few days, took possession of the auditorium. It's been a project that was greatly needed, and so with that, I'm going to let Mr. Davis and Mark do the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Serreta. President, members of the board, district staff. Tonight, I'm going to do a presentation, but I'll be here to answer questions.
Good evening. The auditorium job is almost complete. I said almost because you approved the last board meeting a change order for the roof. That's complete. Contractor is doing just the punch list items that we found, is correcting those little items. The city of San Antonio has inspected the plumbing, the mechanical, the electrical, and the building. All has passed, except for the fire alarm system, which the inspector found some relays that are not working. Contractor is fixing that. He fixed that today. The inspector couldn't re-inspect the building today, but he is willing to do that tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. Paul Navarro from the school is going to be present in that inspection. Everything is working, so we don't expect any more delays. After that, you will receive a certificate of occupancy. You can turn this back to the school. And the good news also are that we meet this morning with the contractor for doing some of the preliminary numbers, and everything is on the budget. So we don't expect anything else to be approved by the board extra. Everything is within the budget.
We'll still have one closeout change order. There was a $100,000 contingency in the contract for things that you find when you start tearing walls down. And we're going to actually use all of that. It did go a little bit beyond it, but the contractor's also stepping up, taking some responsibility for it, so it won't exceed that number.
Any questions?
We have some pictures to show you.
Did you say 1,000 or 100,000?
It was 100,000. That went to things like the roof, water damage to the floor of the stage. We didn't identify it because the floor was covered with stuff when we did our inspections. Some subfloor water damage. The current delay right now has to do with these fire alarm relays. They were actually ductwork that's not part of this job, but when the inspector came out to do the full building inspection, they were found to be defective. Contractors up there rewired them. It was like an onion as you began peeling away layers. You kept finding defects in between the layers. And fortunately, we had a good contractor that just scrambled and took care of them one after the other.
These are the numbers that we stand right now, the total amount of the contract with what it has been paid to the contractor, the wages remaining, contingency fund, and the two change orders that you approved previously approved. Those are for the replacement of the top layer of the stage floor and the 125 roof leaks. Then some pictures of the storefront, the before and the after. We have also the lobby, which on the left lower corner you can see the before, and the two other pictures are the what is right now. It's still in the lobby. These are the steps going up to the tier of the auditorium. Before and after, and the stairs going up to the second floor. This is inside the auditorium. You can see the change is significant. This is that were before. We have 240 chairs to change for new seats and use whatever was usable to replace whatever was broken. This is the green room. You can see the difference in the toilets. Yeah. And also the changing room. All new air conditioning equipment is full. And you have new light and sound systems.
What you're going to find is that the facility now is between the new low wattage lighting, the LED lighting, and the mechanical system. We can find it's a lot more economical to operate now, so save the district some money.
Board members, any questions? I do, Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, you said there were 240 new seats?
Yes.
240?
Yes.
But the actually auditorium holds almost 1,000, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am. What we did was the new seats aren't going to match the old seats exactly. So what we did was we took as many of the functional old seats from the fronts and we went around and replaced them with And then we took the first how many rows? 6 rows or so?
No, it's 15 rows.
Took the first 15 rows and replaced all those, so the whole front of the house was brand new. They look identical, and then the seats and the rows behind it, they also look identical, even though they're older seats.
So they kind of blend in.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
it looks like it
obvious.
was intentional, instead of old seat, new seat, old, new, old. We kind of got it where all the new seats were together, so it looked like it was intentional.
And my next question is, since the work has been done, what kind of a warranty do we have on the workmanship?
1 year.
1 year warranty?
Yes, ma'am.
And has somebody done a walkthrough on the work that's been done?
Yes, ma'am, several walkthroughs.
So once the building is turned over to us, that's it. We just have a year from that day, if we find something that's not functional, or the workmanship is poor, to report it and get it fixed.
Yeah, technically, there are exceptions to that, that'll buy you more time, keeping conditions, that sort of thing. And as we've always committed to the district, if next week you have problems with something, you call me, we'll have somebody out there to figure out why. And it's not like we're gonna be gone for a year and do a routine inspection and try to get it fixed. That we'll work with you over the next year to make sure that they take care of issues as they come up. Issues will come up. Anytime you buy something new, there's always a chance that some part was not correct or broke, and we're here to help you get through that.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Dr. Serrano, will we be using the auditorium for events that are coming up toward the end of the school year?
Yes, ma'am, there's actually at least a couple of events scheduled between now and the end of the school year.
In the auditorium?
Yes.
Mr. Mata?
Mr. Davis, you showed a slide of the steps going into the auditorium.
Yes, sir.
What do we have for disability?
There is an elevator.
An elevator to bring those people up?
Yes,
Is it going to use the same?
We didn't change the design of the building. The existing elevator is still there. Those were the existing steps. The faces were peeling off them. The surface on top of them had become delaminated. The carpet, top and bottom, was ruined. So what we did was we refinished what was existing.
I'm looking forward to visiting that auditorium. It had perfect acoustics before. I don't know if those acoustics still are going to continue.
Very good acoustics.
Yes, great.
Mrs. Serrano? Oh, okay.
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? No? Thank you, Mr. Davis. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Next item on the agenda is a report from board member concerning observations and complaints received involving campus discipline within district schools. This item was placed on the agenda by Mrs. Estrada, therefore I'll leave it to Mrs. Estrada then.
First of all, I want to make it very clear that in no way or no means am I, doing this to pick on anyone. My reason for putting this item on the agenda is very simple. Throughout the year, I have received numerous complaints about the behavior and/or ongoings at Shepherd Middle School and various other campuses in our district. I have been to or called administration several times with this concern. The past month has not only been overwhelming, but disheartening as the behavior has continued. As a board member, I was told it is not my job to solve problems, and everyone is entitled to their opinion. But when it comes to the education of not only my child, but every child, not only as a board member, but most importantly as a parent as well, it is my duty to ensure my child and all others have a safe, healthy, and productive learning environment. I have received calls from parents, grandparents, teachers, and staff in regards to either bullying of a student, fighting, and unruly behavior towards our teachers and substitutes. Sometimes situations causing either physical altercations between child and teacher or verbal altercations. Others resulting in substitutes not wanting to substitute in certain classrooms due to the treatment of some students. Due to the numerous complaints, I could no longer just sit and wait. I could not just say okay and make yet another complaint about a situation only to receive no result. Approximately 3 weeks ago, I, Stacy Estrada, violated board policy by not giving the superintendent the reason of my visiting this campus. Is it okay to violate policy? No, but I felt I had no other alternative other than to see it for myself. I accept full responsibility for my actions, but I would not change it.
What I encountered was not only unacceptable, but it also gave me a whole new appreciation for what our teachers endure on a daily basis, and an understanding into firsthand how some children are bullied. The behavior between students is alarming. Is it every student? No, but it is enough to cause tremendous stress on our teachers or student and disrupt the learning environment. When I witness students verbally abusing teachers with profanity and unruly behavior, that is a concern. When I see a child slap another child in the face, whether it is horseplay or not, there is no consequence. That is not okay. When the tardy bell rings and there are approximately 15 students in the hall doing as they please, that is bothersome. When I get a phone call from a parent about a physical altercation with a teacher, that is a concern. When teachers call me with complaints about disciplinary issues and are afraid to go to their administration due to fear of retaliation, that is an even bigger concern. I brought forward these complaints with the promise to these educators that I would not say names and would keep them confidential. Unfortunately, because I have refused to give names, complaints are considered anonymous and are considered to be invalid. Even though I witnessed for myself, not just what someone has told me, it is not credible because I did not inform the superintendent of my reason for visiting this campus. Instead, I was told to inform myself about board policy and my role as a board member, so I did. Well, in my role as a board member, I requested information to validate my not credible complaints. One being the parent contact log. This law gives you information which can range from contact with parents for positive feedback, parent conferences, and or meetings for parents, to the not so positive, and some with notes attached and only titled behavior. In this log, as of April 12th of this year, there was 2,228 entries for this year alone. I received 2,202 of those entries, and 1,179 were behavioral, ranging from disruption of class, cursing at teachers, skipping, fighting, bullying, cafeteria behavior, or hallway behavior. After going through this, I then asked for the discipline data and attendance for all secondary to consent. What I found completely tells me my complaint should not be ignored. With approximately 2,300 students at the high school, they had 474 in-school suspensions. Shepherd approximately has 600 students with 319 in-school suspensions, leaving a difference of 155 suspensions within itself and the high school, with Kaysen's numbers at 317, with only a difference of 2 less than Shepherd. This is alarming. I believe that, in my opinion, that more support is needed to these campuses. I cannot say how or tell how to do it, but Shepherd needs intervention. Kaysen Middle School and various other campuses along with Shepherd have implemented the PBIS program, Positive Intervention and Support Program. This is a grant that is meant to help by improving behavioral outcomes and learning conditions for all students. This is yet to serve at all campuses. It is a 5-year integration process that will ultimately be at all levels. This program is geared to help the campuses with a positive outcome. That will only work if it is followed in its entirety. I love the total picture of this program, but feel, in my opinion, that there needs to be extra measures put into place. Our teachers have a full plate on a daily basis and deserve more support. They are in the trenches. They are not only teacher, but they are counselor, someone to confide in, referee, and a nurturing pillar in our students' lives that spend much more time with our children than we get to during the school year. They wear many hats, and when there is treatment of such nature as I spoke of today, that should not be acceptable. When a child leans in and says, "Ma'am, I cannot work in this classroom," we owe it to the child to ensure he or she is able to sit and learn without having to worry about such behavior or disruption. It is with great hope today that these complaints are taken by administration seriously, and that we as persons and board members that are held responsible to our constituents and administration can work together as a whole to find a solution. I cannot tell administration how to do this, But we owe it to our children, our parents, and we owe it to our teachers to work collectively to make sure we have the best interest of our district at the forefront, making sure we take every step possible to ensure that both student and teacher are supported, and that the classroom is a place of learning, not disruption, even if a teacher or a student chooses not to give their name. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Estrada. Any comments? I think that concludes the report section of this meeting. We'll proceed now with the discussion and possible actions. Item number 1 is discussion and possible board action to direct the superintendent concerning additional disciplinary measures and/or policies concerning campus discipline. This item was also placed on the agenda by Mrs. Estrada, so I'll turn it over to her.
I had multiple meetings with, after doing what I did, like I said, I am into doing what I did. Is it okay? No. And as I stated, I felt at that point I had no other alternative. I had a couple meetings with the superintendent, and I was advised to do some things, and I did. In return, I reached out and did those. I don't think you've ever seen me do something of that nature. I've always followed the rules. So, I understand what you say when it's anonymous and, unless we have names, there's not much we can do. But I felt that when I brought you my concern and seeing what I saw, and then doing a walkthrough and you seeing some of what I saw, that would trigger okay, let's move. I cannot sit here and say how to do it. We talked about the PBIS program, and do I want the program gone? No. It's rumored around here that I'm saying it needs to be gone, that I'm not a fan of it. That's not the case. I've looked at the grant, I've seen what it entails, and my concern is that, are we doing it right? Are we following what we need to follow with that grant? Is everything put into place? Because I saw totally different. And when I have a meeting and you're telling me one thing, but I saw another, it's hard for me to just sit here, basically because I wouldn't give names and state who or where I got it from. It's not valid. I cannot turn the other cheek and just say, okay, we're just gonna let this ride. I think that we owe it to be looked into, and I can't tell you how to do it. I don't have an explanation for it. I can't tell you what to do. That you're the superintendent. By no means is this to pick on you or make you look bad. My concern is the campus. My concern is the teachers that have reached out. My concern is seeing students slapped in the face. My concern is seeing what I saw in the classroom. So I don't know if anybody else has any other, ideas, suggestions, and I would actually like to hear if we have anybody here for the entire board, because I don't think we've been briefed on the PBIS program. I have, because I looked for it, but I don't believe that we all have. So, if we have somebody here that can speak about the program so that we can see where we're going with this program, it's.
I think we can make some comments about PBIS this evening. I would suggest that at the next board meeting, we schedule a full report on PBIS. That would probably be, okay, it's coming in May. That probably would be the most appropriate way to respond to that. Because otherwise, we're going to give you a off-the-cuff report, or we were not aware you would request this. I think Mr. Vegas here, he can talk about it. Ms. Costa could talk about it. But I think you'll receive a more complete report if we wait till the May board meeting.
And the reason we asking about PBIS, because it has to do with disciplinary, and just as Mr. Cummings spoke, the numbers were alarming when you just stated, you know, the percentage of teachers that are not happy with this program. So I want to know, you know, I mean, I know you can't give us the full grant because, you know, there's just not the time. We're going to do this in May. But since it has to do with disciplinary, just maybe a small aspect as to what it entails and how it works.
The purpose of the program, and Delinda can jump in at any point, the purpose of the program really is to keep young people in the classroom in front of instruction. The purpose of the program is not to remove young people. It's to work with our students. Teachers receive training as well on the processes, the steps that they'll take in disciplining students before we get to the point of actual removal from the classroom or sending them to the office. It's frankly a program that's been highly advocated for, not only in our district, but really throughout the state and in other parts of Bexar County. We were fortunate to receive I believe a $3 million grant over, I think 5 years to implement this program.
We're in our third year of this program.
Sorry?
We're in our third year of this program?
No, we just started.
Second year?
We just started,
It's a
yes.
5-year
Yeah,
program.
I think we received it last spring, I think.
When I first started, was when we received it, but then it got, you know, we had to hire the folks and implementation, that was the first 6 months, and then the first group got trained, I believe, at the end of that spring, which was started with the Hill, and now we're going to Dwight and Kazin, and then next year it will be at high school.
So it's not at Kazin right now?
Not yet, they've just gotten their training.
I thought we were in like a year at Kazin.
They're still creating their, no, they're getting first they go through training on creating their matrix, and then it gets executed the next year.
I was under the understanding we've been a year with the program at Kazin.
We've been a year in the program with Shepherd and the Shepherd feeder schools.
Okay. What are the objectives and the activities of PBIS? Can you explain that to the rest of the board so they understand, since we're going to be implementing this like all throughout the district?
I can, sir. Or, okay. So the goals are, like what Dr. Saavedra said, is to keep as many students in classrooms and work on getting to the root cause of why they're acting out. It starts at elementary and feeds into middle, and then obviously the high school. And if we can encourage of getting to the root cause of what is causing this behavior, as opposed to, oh, you said this, you did this, you're out of here. It's actually going through and really going deep and building relationships with kids and really seeing, why are you acting this way? And many of our kids, as y'all know, in fact, I know as being a former high school principal, it's real easy for me to say, 3 days ISS, you just cursed out that teacher. Well, I didn't know that maybe this student just got kicked out of his house the night before, hadn't eaten. You have to go, it makes you go deep before you just give, kick him out, okay, yeah, go to alternative. So it provides where you really have to build relationships with those kids and understanding where they're coming from and providing support that way. And so Mr. Vega and his team, I believe, have social workers and that additional support that they take to the campuses. So they provide, they help the teachers to try to go deep in understanding the students they serve.
Okay, I'm sorry, and I wrote myself down a couple of questions here. Are the campus team leading the implementation of the program?
It's led by PBI, it's led by Mr. Vega's team. They train their teachers and the principals, and then after that, during that training, they make decisions. It's very led by the teachers and the campuses on what's their discipline matrix going to be, what is going to be a level 1, a level 2, a level 3, and as teachers, they make that decision and they decide. And then it is the PBI's team that presents it to the rest of their faculty.
So is it up to the principal to decide how to implement the program?
It's up to, no, it's led by our PBIS team and Region 20 that provides them guidance. And then they create their matrix and then they get evaluated and reviewed by Mr. Vega's PBIS team.
So it's not up to so nobody can decide that, like once you have this grant and it's in your school, You can't change it, you have to follow it completely, correct?
Yes, but PBIS, what's going on at Shepherd might look different on how it's going on at Dwight. They don't have the same students. They have different schools, exactly, and different needs. And so, but some things you might see that are similar, like the lines down the middle of the hallway so students walk on one side. You might see different colored lanyards identifying, so, adults can identify, okay, that's a 6th grader, that's a 7th grader. You're not supposed to be on this hallway. Hey, sweetheart, let me help you get to the right hallway. That looks different, but that's a campus decision. So those parameters are, we're not going to dictate how there's going to be parameters, but it has to be a campus decision because they're the ones who ultimately have to execute it.
And the school climate transformation grant director, is he being allowed to work with the principals on the implementation of the program?
Yes.
Yes. And what does that entail? Can you tell me what that, or can I ask the director?
May I ask you he meets with all of the principals and he trains them. It's his team who trains them. And then as the principals go, he I believe splits up his team and assigns certain staff members to different campuses. I know like Ms. Arciniega is assigned to Shepherd. I know you're mentoring at Athens, and so he divides his team up on how they serve the campuses and add additional support.
And can the directors give directives to the principal?
No.
No. Is that what the grant calls for, ma'am?
No, it's just a leadership practice that Dr. Saavedra has executed to all of us. Directors don't give directives.
Let me speak to that a minute. I don't know the number of directors we have in the district, but let's just say there's 8 or so, whatever it may be. Principals can't have all those bosses. For that reason, the organization calls principals, while they're in direct report to the superintendent, on the day-to-day operations, they report to the superintendent through Ms. Castro. And really only Ms. Castro or myself as superintendent can give principals directives. Now, directors have a process. If they want to implement something that they want principals to do, is simply bringing it through Ms. Castro or through the superintendent. But we do not allow the directors to give directives to the principals. It's by design, and we think it works better that way.
Is it in compliance with the grant to do so, or are we following the way the grant was written?
Yes, it is in compliance.
But are we following the way, because if I may ask, somebody else, whoever else is out here with PBIS, do we have to follow it the way the grant is written, the way we sent it in?
Who do you want to ask? I'm sorry.
I guess I can ask Mr. Vega, and he's the director.
Mr. Vega, you want to respond to that question, please?
It should be followed as the grant is written because it's coming from the Department of Education. That's how we got it. The way it's written, we're supposed to follow it.
And this is not the way it was written, correct, sir?
It was written, we should implement it in every campus, and it should follow the grant to the letter. That's how it was written.
And I read the grant, and we are not.
Actually, the way I see all grants, the grants have to align to our vision and mission. We don't change for the grant. So we make sure, so even with Head Start, even with Title I, all federal grants have to align to our mission and vision. Where we start getting off is if we have to make sure that all of that aligns. And to my knowledge, and unless I'm missing something, Mr. Vega, if we have a campus that's not executing it correctly, I now step in and I meet with that principal if there's been an issue. Now I'm having Mr. Vega meet with me every 2 weeks to make sure that I am clear, to make sure that everything is being executed correctly. But all grants have to align to our vision and mission, and then we execute it that way.
I guess I'm gonna have to wait for this one in May because, like you said, not everybody has read the grant. I did. It's a big grant. I read otherwise. And I believe when we do a federal grant, it's the federal government, and we have to follow what the federal government says. That's federal money.
That's absolutely correct, but we are following the grant.
I don't know if any other board members have had the same, or any other issues as I have. I don't know, I can only speak for myself and my campus. I did get calls from others, I directed them to you, why they, I couldn't tell you. I don't know what we can look at. I mean, can we look at after-school programs? Do these kids, as you say, you know, and I understand your frustration with me, but as you say, you know, get to the root of the problem. Apparently we're not. You know, with what I saw and just looking at the suspensions and what the union has stated, these teachers are unhappy. And if you have an unhappy teacher, you have an unhappy student. And what can we look into? I can't tell you all what to do. I can't. Am I concerned? Yes, I'm very concerned. My child is on campus. You know, the teachers have a lot on their plates. The administrators have a lot on their plates. So, I mean, is there a program? Is there after-school things that we can do where these kids can come and give an outlet? You know, is there something other than what we're doing? Because what we're doing is not working. I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Mrs. Estrada, with about, I don't know, 5-6 weeks of school left, here at the end of the year, we do surveys out there in the schools. Principals provide us input concerning the level of service the administration is providing. Teachers will provide us input as well. They get the opportunity to complete anonymous surveys to give us whatever information they want us to receive. We'll evaluate things at Shepherd as well as any other school in the district based on the feedback that we're receiving. Because the information you're receiving and the information that I have received are not exactly the same thing. And so that's why these type of surveys are important, because it's important that we receive all sides of this particular issue. I attended a meeting that was scheduled last Thursday in the community by a community organizer. I was asked to be there. I asked the principal to come as well, and I asked Ms. Costa to come as well. One parent and one grandparent were present at that meeting. Numerous teachers from Shepherd attended since it was a public meeting. I met 2 teachers from Shepherd, and I don't even know their names to tell you the truth right now. I don't recall the names, that actually have children attending Shepherd. They live in different school districts, but they bring their children to Shepherd. They're very comfortable with what's going on in that particular school. I'm not discrediting anything of what's been reported to you, but I really do think that we need to look to all sides of this. And we'll continue to work with you, and we'll work with the principal to try to identify what are the issues and to see if something different needs to occur. But as I stated to you in the meetings that we've had, I have complete confidence in the principal and how she is managing that school. She's received good support from her teachers as well. And we'll be happy to look at any of the concerns, but we need to be able to address them as they come up. And that's one of the reasons, this is frankly, literally all school districts, we don't address anonymous concerns or complaints because we have to be able to dig into what the problem is. And so we'll be happy to address them, but we need to have the information readily to us as it comes to us, not secondhand. And right now the information is coming to us secondhand.
I know that you said because I violated board policy that basically it didn't count because I did it out of, you know, the way I wasn't supposed to.
What I stated to you was that whenever either teachers or parents are calling you, it would be appropriate for you to refer those parents and teachers to the administration, allow us to address it, and I'll be happy to report back to you how it got resolved or whether it got resolved. But to have you in the middle of trying to resolve this on the behalf of individuals that want to remain anonymous is simply a very difficult process to put in place.
Dr. Savera, I'm not trying to be in the middle and solve anything. I was getting complaints, and They chose to be, just like your surveys that are anonymous. You do surveys and you accept those surveys and they're anonymous. These are anonymous people that want to remain anonymous for certain reasons. And, you know, I've never been up here in the whole 2 years and made a fuss like I am now. So to do what I'm doing shows you about our schools, about, you know, I've never done it. So it shows you that I'm serious. Like, what I saw wasn't, you know, a dream, a daydream. You know, it wasn't one classroom, it wasn't two. And I asked, and I understand that you follow certain criteria when you do something, to respect the principal. And I'm not blaming the administrator. I'm not. You know, there's a lot of kids. It's a lot of kids. They're first years. I can't just sit here and let that happen because I won't give a name. I can't. You know, and can I tell you how to do it? No. Because all I can ask is that, you know, it was stated that the union had yet to say anything in one of our meetings. You know, nothing's been brought up, nothing's been said today. He made a big statement.
Well, today was the first day that was brought up.
So it validates my concern. It validates my concern. You know, for the union to come and give the numbers that they did, that's concerning. You know, do I want the program out? No. I grew up as a troubled kid. I was a homeless kid. I didn't have either or parent. I know where a lot of these kids come. They come from rough areas. But so, you know, we're not getting to that root. And in return, it's coming into the school. We have teachers being verbally abused, literally. I saw it with my own 2 eyes. You know, you saw what you said was horseplay, and whether it's horseplay or not, that leads to fights. That's not okay. You know, what can we do as a district to better this so that our teachers are supported? Because at this point, hearing from the union, I don't believe our teachers feel they're supported. You know, they got a lot on their plate, a lot. So, I mean, I can't tell you how to do it, and I don't know if any other board members have had issues in their schools, but I know what I've seen in mine, and I've known these people for many, many, many years. All of my kids have gone through Shepherd. My last one's there. So I take it personal when I see stuff like that. And because I won't give a name, then it's not good. I told you where to look. I told you, just pop in. Go down the hallway, pick any class. Pick any class and walk in there. So it's just a concern of mine, and I think that, you know, besides this PBIS program, you know, maybe we can get something else that's not just supporting the students, but the teachers as well as a whole. Because right now, you know, I don't feel that that's, in my opinion, that that's being done.
Any comments? I do. Mr.
Go ahead.
One of the schools that I represent is Haven in my area. And when this was put on the agenda, one of the things I did ask Dr. Saavedra was for a parent contact log to see, you know, how many are we receiving at Hazen? And there is none. So that was alarming, that certain schools follow different standards or different procedures. And Dr. Saavedra did explain that Shepherd had been following it for a few years, this process of parent contact log, which I think is very good. And you know, make a suggestion that it should be uniformity in all of the campuses, only because if we are going to be implementing this PBIS throughout the whole district, then, you know, we should have some data, you know, to go by. The email that we received in reference to the in-school suspensions, one of the questions I had in reference to Kazin is that number, it was very alarming, only because it's a small school and we were just a few behind the high school. And the high school being 2,500 and Kazin being under 500. And so my question to that was, is it repeat offenders? Or is it, hopefully it's not all of the student, most of the student population. So that was my question, is it repeat individuals going into in-campus suspension, or is it renewed time?
We can find out for you. That information was not requested, but we can get that for you to determine whether or not these are repeat students into that program. Quite frankly, in-school suspension is widely used because it keeps students in school, in front of the teacher, receiving instruction, as opposed to out-of-school suspensions. Kaizen also has not such a large number of out-of-school suspensions. So clearly they seem to be using in-school suspension much more than out-of-school suspensions. The other, if I may also want to comment that while Kaizen may not follow the same process that Shepherd would in maintaining a log, it doesn't mean that they don't document, and it doesn't mean they don't have the data. They do document every parent contact, and depending on what data you're requesting, we can get that for you.
Okay.
But they don't have a running log, is what they don't have, but they do have documentation for each of those contacts.
And just to clarify, that running log began this year at Shepherd. They
Oh,
haven't
it
it started this year. And I believe the same at Dwight, it started this year.
I can attest that that started way before my kids go there, so that log's been going a while, not just this year. Mr. Baker?
I think the difference is, if I may, it was previously kept on paper, and now it's kept electronically, and I think that's what the change is.
Yes, they created what's called a Google Doc, and it's very easy for teachers just to input, and therefore it creates a spreadsheet where you can see if me and the same teacher have the same concern with this parent or with this student. Now I can see that, and it just helps collaborate, to try to find solutions with whatever the need is from that.
Okay. And then I also second Mrs. Estrada as far as being informed about this too, I guess, since it is going to be implemented next year at Kaizen, maybe having a special call meeting to allow time for it. One of my other concerns was, okay, so Mr. Vega is the director of this program. He implements and teaches the curriculum, I guess, or how to implement this program. And so then the principals and the teachers know what to do, but if they have any issues or concerns with this program, it goes to you.
Right, or it goes to Mr. Vega. Oftentimes it goes to Mr. Vega, or whoever Mr. Vega has sent to that campus, because they're assigned to that campus to provide that support.
Okay, I wasn't sure that, because Dr. Saavedra said he didn't want too many chiefs over the
Right.
It was in reference to directives.
Directives.
That's what it was in reference to.
So, meaning, so providing support, all of our directors provide support. All of our directors provide support. But as far as a directive, like you will do this or you get fired, they don't do that. They provide support though. And if there's, let's say I'll just use an example that came actually today. One of our directors needed presentations for a pre-K roundup, or for a kinder roundup. And she had given a deadline. Some principals didn't respond. She CC'd me on it, and all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I need these by tomorrow morning at 8. I'm the one who can say, I need these by tomorrow morning at 8. She, said, hey, do, and then she CC's me, so therefore I can enforce that. Does that make sense? So therefore, so they all provide support, they all provide assistance, advice, etc. But as far as those kind of, like when it comes down to deadlines, if there's a principal that's not responding, then that's when I step in. Does that make sense?
Yes. That's all the concerns I have.
Thank you. Mr. Mata?
The only thing in life that we know for sure that's going to happen is change. Things are going to change. I recall when I was growing up in my family, I grew up in a family of 9, 5 boys and 4 girls. I was the oldest. If we got a note from the teacher that we were misbehaving, You were scared to death until you met mom and dad. You just went on home. Now, that scenario wasn't too long ago, but it did happen, okay? We didn't have, when I was going to Dwight and to South San High, also not too long ago, we didn't have a police department. We didn't have the disciplinary problems that we're having today. Today. I believe that I had the record for phone calls to Dr. Severa on complaints from parents. I go to HEB, I get caught there. I go to the restaurant, I get caught there. It might be mowing my lawn and my neighbor will come across the street and tell me, hey, what's going on? You guys need to straighten this out. So as a policy of myself, I always make it a point, you call your superintendent. I've been fortunate enough to work with quite a bit of superintendents here in South San. And I always followed that. Go to the commander in charge. Go to your superintendent. Now, when you receive complaints, and especially from members of the school system, our brilliant legislators have developed the Whistleblower Act. Those people, if you don't want your name mentioned, you can use that process and you'll be protected. Now, why some people don't want their names mentioned, et cetera, well, that's a personal matter. And getting back to the changes, society changes, parents change, students change, and the biggest change that I see is in the middle school. You can go to any elementary school in South San, and you walk in there, those students are eager to get to the classroom, to do things for the teacher, come back to mom and dad and share with them how good it is to go to school. See, and I don't have the answer, and I doubt it if anybody has the answer, what causes that change. There's a lot of scenarios out there that what causes that change from elementary to middle school and to the high school. You know, we really don't know what happens there. But I would imagine or assume that the growth in the individuals and their values that they have at home would really help the parents and the students in school. What we can do, I applaud Dr. Severa and his staff for implementing what is already implemented. It's a good process as far as I'm concerned. It's not a perfect process, but it's a start. And maybe this gray cloud that we have right now here in South San, we can find that silver lining and develop something to where the whole community is working with the school systems at home, etc., to bring these students to higher education after they receive their diploma of high school. I really don't have any answers to what can be done. I'm looking forward to the May meeting. I really want to get there and see what we can do. But what I want to express is that whatever we do, it's not going to be an overnight process. It's not going to be an overnight process. It's going to take all of those individuals working together and the love for education, I think I said enough.
Anyone else? I would like to just say something. I think all of us at some time or another hear concerns from parents at most of our campuses. We all represent a middle school, Middle school is a tough age for these kids. The transition from 5th grade to 6th grade is not easy for these kids. But I think one key, and I think we heard it earlier when Kellogg gave their presentation, and I think we don't have enough at the middle school, is parent involvement. Those parents need to come in and work with our teachers. I've heard some campuses don't allow parents to come to their campuses. They are needed. That is what's going to help with the discipline. Seeing the parents there, the kids will think twice about misbehaving. You will help the teachers. And I don't know what the rules are now or policies as far as parent involvement, if it's something the principal decides. But principals, if you want help with these kids, bring these parents in to volunteer. They are jewels. They will help you, believe me. And I think that's something, we at Dwight have not gotten PBIS yet, is my understanding. But I think that's something that if we increase our parent volunteers at these middle schools, I think that's going to help us a lot with the disciplinary problems.
Ms. Paul, I have a quick question. How much is in that grant? I know you said the number, but I think there was too many people talking.
No, it's 2 million. 2 million.
2 million.
And how is that distributed mainly to administrators?
It's through to the PBIS team, which is a director, social workers, counselors, that is the district team. Then it's professional development. A lot of it is in professional development, training the principals and teachers. Some of it is in technology for Mr. Vega's team, and it's split over a 5-year.
It's 2 million divided by 5 years.
Right.
Brings it down, yeah.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on to the next item. Thank you, Ms. Castro. Item number 2 is discussion and possible action to approve changes to revenue, expenditures, and extraordinary expenses, and approve amendment to 2015-2016 adopted budget in order to realign the district local budget more closely to student needs and focus areas. Dr. Saavedra.
Mr. Members of the board, I'm going to call Jesse Martinez, our Director of Finance. He's going to walk you through a brief presentation, an update of where we are concerning this fiscal year, its expenditures, fund balance, those other things, and then make a recommendation for a board approval of the mid-year budget amendment.
Board members, committee, staff. Just to give you a snapshot of where we're at. The items that are going to be discussions basically is of 2015, 2016, the adoption budget in the year, an estimate of the end of the year. Within those 3 categories, we're going to be looking at the revenue, expenditures, efficiency amendments, and any other items. As we move forward, of course, in the beginning of the year, the business office will bring to the board to adopt the budget for the beginning of the year to make sure where we're going to be at, where we're going to be expenditures, and what we're going to have. Moving along in the mid-year, this is what have been happening in the middle of the year. We have to bring to the board a couple of amendments. So as you can see in the middle of the section, that some amendments have been already approved on a monthly basis. And basically, this first amendment that really happened is more for the high school, as you had the percentage earlier about the high school auditorium. So you will see it was just the amendment being approved of the 1.7 from the fund balance, and basically everything else, we had already appropriated 700 from funds. And moving along to now kind of, the explanation really will be in the following page where we did for the high school, which is the 1.9, that we did the fund balance. That was kind of a year just to start the process with the high school. And we go to the following page. Now here is basically just giving you where we're estimating as of right now. Of course, there's still a little bit at the beginning of the year, there might be a couple of changes. But just for you to come and bring back the budget in line, we have done some changes. So you have some amendments in the middle of this section.
And we'll be talking about the section in the middle of the amendment, and then the following pages on the revenue and the expenditures for more information for you guys of what's been going on. For the changes in the revenue, basically you have the 5700s, the local revenue. We increased it for 36,000 for facility rentals, and these are more the layoffs that are going on here in the district. So we increased it because we want to make sure that we're recognizing the revenue, and that's one of the reasons why the 5700 is going to increase. If you look at the 5800, which is the state revenue, we had a small decrease of 293 in the TRs on behalf of the revenue. Of course, the expenditures decrease are the same amount and no effect to the fund balance. If you look at the second bullet, it's 243. It's a decrease in the state fund based on the student enrollment change. As a snapshot of March, that was given to us from TA on the SOF. So we had a small decrease, so that's why we were decreasing a little bit on the 5800 revenue. And of course, we did have a small increase because we got some money for pre-K, which is 41,846. If you remember, they came in about 2% the pre-K, about 41,846. Now we move to the 5900s on the federal revenues. We have a small increase, which is going to be on the URI. Of course, we just started this, so we'll be seeing a little bit more of an increase on that, on the 5900 as we go on top of the URI. Of course, the net effect is a decrease, but it's 432,540. On the following slide, you're going to be seeing now on the expenditures. Back around December, the board had directed the business office, to give some money to activity funds. So the top portion, it was the portion that hasn't been 100% that was given after the cheerleaders. So we're just recognizing and bringing it to you so you can know where some of it has been in Price, Shepherd, the high school. And if you look at 2002, they're pending on the allocation. So we still have that money, but we still have already got some direction from Mr. Zaguida, who has been awarded. So we've been moving some of that money also with it. And of course, we had a second item. It was the unexpected expenditures, extraordinary expenditures. So we have the item number 2, and then we have also the TA conservator, the TA forensic audit, athletic rentals, which, as you noticed in the beginning, there was an increase of revenue. Same thing with the expenditures, so really it's zero out, so you're not really going to see any of that. And of course, it would be the same thing with the pre-K. We got the increase in the revenue, but we have to recognize the expenditures. So that's why we have that dollar amount of 41,846. And of course, because of the changes and everything that we've been doing, we went into our budget just to see where exactly we're going to get some of this money. We went around.
Mr. President, members of the board, if I might add, later in the proposed amendments, as presented by our Director of Finance.
Madam Chair.
Yes. I have a motion by Ms. Madla, do I hear a second?
Second.
I have a discussion. Councilor, on items like this having to do with the budget, since this is a mid-year analysis, it'd be good if we could get this in our board packet before the meeting.
Sure.
There's a lot of information, and for us to have to look, I'm not reserving any questions I may have, maybe at the May 2nd meeting on the
Sure.
items.
That'd be
So
fine.
if we could get these in our packets ahead of time, that would help considerably. I was looking at the, how you're going to cover the $972,000, and the functions you've got listed are 3152. It doesn't say what function, so I'd have to flip back and forth to see what accounts you're taking it from. It looks like you're taking it from guidance and counseling. You're taking 160,000 from there. That's
Yes,
function
on the 31, yes, function 31.
Yeah,
is
is that,
160.
because I know it's almost into the school year, but is that going to be all right? I mean, is there anything that's pending for that
No,
department that they're going to do?
We did predictions for the end of the year, so we wanted to make sure that we covered all our bases. So we're looking at our payroll, we're looking at everything, how it's been the trend, to make sure that we don't need any more money in there. So basically, that's what we're doing right now.
And I think that was one thing that we had asked for is a list of the accounts and what was budgeted and what has been expended and what is left so far at the end of the school year. because sometimes a lot of the districts, a lot of the campuses don't spend all their money, and they're rushing at the very end to hurry up and submit people. Any other questions, board members? Okay, if not, I have a motion by Ms. Matla, seconded by Mr. Mata. Roll call, please, Yvette.
Mrs. Prado?
Yes.
Mrs. Estrada?
Yes.
Mrs. Ostegui?
Yes.
Mr. Mata?
Yes.
Mr. Longoria?
Yes.
Mrs. Guerra?
Yes.
Ms. Malva?
Yes.
Motion passes, thank you. Number 3 is discussion and possible action to approve the business operations consulting services request for proposal 2016-6. These services are for the purpose of becoming efficient in the business operations, which in turn will secure a safe environment that provides an education to each child in our system. Dr. Sedano.
Mr. President, members of the board, I believe the board knows that for a period of time, we've been utilizing the services of a business consultant. The company's called Rem and Associates. It's Mr. Ricardo Rodriguez. He's presented before the board previously. And we're at the point where the expenditure on those services for this fiscal year is getting close to exceeding $50,000. We're required to go out for proposals at $50,000. That's what we've done. We've gone out for proposals. We advertised. We received, basically, he was the only one that submitted a proposal. And so we're recommending the employment of REM, School Business Solutions Group is the name of the company, as the business consultant that we will continue to work with. I anticipate that we will continue to use the services of Mr. Rodriguez's company, possibly another 6 months or so. And then I think at that point, I think we're pretty much done with that contract. I'd be happy to respond to questions if you have any.
Board members, have any questions? Yes, Ms. Mata.
Does this include like what that we talked about, that we were gonna hire somebody for all the different schools for all the money coming in?
No. I think what you're talking about are the student activity funds at the school level. We're working on that as well. We're bringing all the school activity accounts in. That will be centralized basically by the start of the next fiscal year. It's actually directly received with the conservator, and we're working toward that. Mr. Rodriguez will help us set that up. Before we hired Mr. Salazar, during the period of, I think we had about 5 months without a CFO. Mr. Rodriguez actually helped us keep the business office going. And so those are the type of services that he provides. He frankly has been very valuable. He was a key figure also as we developed the responses to the corrective action plan. So those are the kind of services that he provides.
Thank you.
Mr. Mata.
If there's no further questions, I move to approve as presented by the superintendent.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Mata, seconded by Ms. Matla. Discussion. Yes, Ms. Estrada.
I think we talked about, he said that he was here and he was going to help rebuild, and then after that, he was gone.
Right.
Can you give me clarification as to why we need a consultant? Are we fully staffed already with that?
Yes, ma'am, we're fully staffed, but many of these individuals are brand new to their positions. It's additional support. One of the biggest challenges in our district, since from the very beginning when I arrived, was the business office. We've also had turnover in the business office in the 2 years. We first had a previous CFO that was here 1 year. Mr. Salazar now has been with us about 3 months, going on 4 months, I believe. So yeah, I think we need some additional support so that we don't encounter major issues later on.
And you said he'll stay about maybe 5 more months? Is that
I think I said 6, maybe another 6 months or so.
So that's what this is about today?
Well, this is simply to allow the district to continue to do business with it. This is not limit us to 6 months or 5 months or any length of time. He provides services about 2 or 3 days out of the week. It's not a full-time thing. As you can tell from September 1, started fiscal year up to this point, we're at about 50,000 or slightly below right now. It's less than a full-time position should we hire an individual on a full-time basis.
And you see that we need a need for that right now at this point.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody else? In the amount of $97,101.53 from G.
Campus principal, the nutritional staff.
I'm going to call Jenny out of London, and she probably will tell you. I don't believe it was the principal, though.
Ms. Bowman,
We keep them out of the kitchen.
we don't allow anybody in the kitchen. Basically what it is it's really just an assessment by staff, not only the kitchen staff, but the administrative staff. And really it's a needs assessment, and basically it's an equipment replacement plan. So if you'll notice in the notes, it's equipment that's typically had a large number of repairs. In many cases, we have equipment that they no longer make, that's actually still working for us, and the parts become obsolete. So when something breaks down, it's very costly to repair it, or sometimes we just can't repair it. So that's how these items are identified.
Okay. One of the concerns I've had, and I'm not sure if any other schools are experiencing this, or I think you spoke in reference to this, is that Kindred, their students are served on styrofoam.
Until next month.
Or are we getting?
Yes. And the reason that was is, unfortunately, with the dynamics of that kitchen being very old, dish machines had to be vented through the roof. And we were unable to penetrate that roof just because of the age and some items that were on top. They now make a ventless dish machine. They're a little bit more costly, but they are now available. So in fact, I was told the quote for it will come in on Wednesday. So depending on the price, we may or may not bring it, to the board, but it's an order.
That was it. Thank you.
Mr. Monson?
Move to approve consent items 1 through 8.
I have a motion by Mr. Mata, seconded by Ms. Model. I do have one discussion if I would, and that's going back to the styrofoam trays that kids use. Is Kindred the only campus that is using styrofoam trays
Kindred is the only elementary school we use styrofoam in the secondary schools.
as well?
We just typically have, there's 2 trays of thoughts. Some schools are all paper, some are all trays. We really do a combination of both. Sometimes you look at the cost savings, but with dish machines, you're buying chemicals and labor, so it's really just.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, the board will now convene to close executive session. Closed meeting pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, and 551.0821. One is level 3 employee grievance hearings pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, and 2 discussions concerning personnel matters pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074. And the time is 9:13. open session. The time is 9:40. There is no action to be taken. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
To adjourn?
I have a
I
motion by
second.
Ms. Madla, seconded by Ms. Ostigue. The time is 9:40. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.